All right, have not fans. This is the video you've been waiting for beyond anything else I can talk about. And this is a prediction video for my theories on what will happen in the next episode, being the mid-season finale of season 4. Now, my most recent video clocked in at about 25 minutes, which was the review for last week's episode. Originally, I thought that this video was going to run for about the same time, if not longer. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know what? Maybe this video won't be 30 minutes. And that's not really by choice. It's just the fact that I've thought about it in terms of, I don't know if there's enough theories that would last 30 minutes. Here's what I mean. Now, just take into consideration that this is the mid-season finale, not the season finale. So obviously, Tyler Perry is going to have some kind of cliffhanger that's going to have us wanting more and bring us back to the series during the second half. For example, season 2, I believe the season finale, or mid-season finale, was when the Malones abducted Candace. Then the season, or excuse, getting mixed. See, mid-season finale, season finale, give or take, more or less the same thing. But basically, season 3 was when Veronica was burning the house with David in it, and that was the mid-season finale of that. I mean, that pretty much we had to come back for more. So it seems to me that the mid-season finale is obviously going to be who's ever going to get shot in Veronica's house. Now, it's pretty clear that it's either one of two people. It's either going to be Maggie or Veronica. Some people have speculated David, and egg on my face if it is David. But you got to think about it. The only two people that know where Veronica lives is Maggie, and then you have Veronica herself. Arguably, either Jim knows it, or, one of the guy that was hired from Quita or Quincy's crew to, kill off Veronica knows where she lives. So obviously there's at least 3 people that know where she lives. Now, it looks like the setup, as I said in preview, was Maggie would be the one to get shot, because I did a prediction video way back at the beginning of the season in terms of who's going to get shot, and Maggie seems like to be the number 1 contender. Now, it's pretty much set up. Veronica had the cameras in her house. She looked at her, tablet or iPad or whatever you want to call it in her car and realized, hey, there's a shooter there. So she pretty much set up Maggie to come over, talk to her about David, apparently tell her some things about David she should know. And then in a preview, we do see Maggie kind of looking around and about to go to the front door. I'm guessing she's looking around because she is intelligent, and when she's not letting her emotions fuel her judgment. So she's probably looking around to see, hey, if Veronica's here, where's her car at? Or is she just kind of looking around before going into the house? Then we see the shooter pretty much perked up, ready to go, because Quita did say he's trained to shoot the first person to come through the door. But the question is, it really isn't about who gets shot, at least in my eyes. It's about if the shooter shoots the first person who comes through the door and realizes that it's not Veronica Harrington, would he still stay in the house until Veronica came back, or would he leave? Because he gets paid for killing off Veronica, not necessarily, whoever walks through the door. So I'm just wondering how that's going to run. And another thing is, in the preview, we do see Veronica kind of look around because she parks in the driveway and she walks to the front door of her house. So I was thinking about, well, actually, let me scratch that. In the preview, she does say, she's on the phone saying, hello, it looks like police. It looks like somebody walked into my neighbor's house. I don't know if she's referring to her own house or somebody else's. It could be somebody else's, I'm guessing, because put it this way. Here's one way of looking at it. So, there's multiple theories about this. Maggie goes to the house. She gets shot because, remember, the shooter's going to go for the first person at the door. But we don't know whether or not the door is unlocked. That's another question, because if Veronica left the door unlocked, then Maggie can just walk right in. Maybe she tells Maggie, hey, come in whenever you're ready. I'm back from running my errands. The front door is open. The shooter, he probably broke in, so I don't know if he left the door unlocked, or there's so many ways this could go down in terms of it's not about who comes in the front door first. It's about how do they get in unless they have a key. Because again, if it is unlocked, Maggie goes in, she gets shot. Veronica's like, hey, there's somebody at my neighbor's house. And then she gives the home address for her own address to the police without them knowing that Veronica Harrington lives there. They go, they apprehend the shooter, and then her hit's gone, as well as her competition for David. So that's killing off Maggie, as well as, making sure she doesn't get shot because the hit put on her by Jim has been canceled out. So when she actually goes to the front door, I'm assuming that she knows good and well that the shooter's gone, and she has no problem going inside the house. Unless there's another shooter, but then again, I think that's really stretching the theory. So just to simplify it, Maggie goes into the house, she gets shot, Veronica calls the police show up, apprehend the shooter. We also see that Veronica, during her errands, eventually runs into Jeffrey. I'm guessing that she goes to the candy cane company or Candace's house. I mean, that's the only way I can think of where she would run into Jeffrey, given the fact that he's running around town since he doesn't have his car, but, his keys, even though now the locksmith came and helped him out. My thing is about this, based off the preview, there's really a couple main things to point out. Number one, David finally getting those 5, I believe Jennifer gave him 5 or 10 minutes to speak with Jim, and he's going to be begging to cancel off the hit that he put on Veronica. Jim says it's too late, so you could pretty much tell that friendship is going to be even dampened further by, the hit Jim put out on Veronica. It doesn't help that Quita told Veronica that David was the one to put the hit on her, so that's not going to go over well. Then we had the next scene where Wyatt is either overdosed, so he's dead, or he's in some kind of coma. I don't think he's dead. I mean, if he's dead, that's wouldn't be a surprise, but I think it would be more of a karma / bringing the series around full circle if he was in some type of coma from the drugs. Kind of like when he hit Benny, who was in a coma for a while. I think that would be a pretty interesting way of bringing things around in terms of, Wyatt hit Benny, he was in a coma, Hannah was scared to death. Now, Wyatt pretty much put himself in a coma with them drugs, so he's pretty much, going to scare Catherine to death because, as she told Hannah, she can't stand the thought of burying another child. So, with that being said, that moves on to the next point where Catherine Cryer is literally going into badass mode, pretty much telling Jennifer, hey, bitch, I will kill you out in the street. I'm done. Like, Catherine Cryer is on the prowl because without Hannah there as her moral compass, she is like a tiger out of the cage. She is literally going after anybody. And I'm really excited to see that because, again, it's really cool to see Catherine back in the front seat, considering that Jim's in jail, David's an emotional wreck right now trying to stop the hit. Veronica's pretty much, it seems like she's in control, but I don't know. I think the main thing is if Catherine finds out that she was the one to have Wyatt raped in prison, that's a wrap, because she might kill Jennifer over giving Wyatt that money, which would destroy him. But if she ever found out that Veronica was the one to put Toxic in that cell with her, that's it. And I think either Jim will be the one to tell her. I would think it would be Jim, because if he finds out that the hit he put on Veronica didn't go through, then, that's it. He's going to be furious. So I'm just wondering what's going to happen with that. Because think about it. If Jim Cryer is really in jail for 30 days, do you know how long that's going to be in terms of the series itself? Because sometimes it takes about 3 or 4 episodes just to get through one day. So it'll probably be like season 12 by the time Jim gets out. So I guess you could say, based off the preview for next week, let's see. I'm kind of just glancing over right now. There's only 2 or 3 things that are highlighted. Again, the David and Jim confrontation in the jail. Then you have Maggie walking up to Veronica's house, Veronica calling the cops. And it's just, let's see. It looks like Jim is it looks like he has some kind of meeting with his banker. So he's probably talking to him in regards to the money that was sent to the candy cane company, or the fact that Wyatt has the $12 million thanks to Jennifer. Catherine, of course, goes to Jennifer. Wyatt is found passed out by the cops that come by. And it looks like the bellman that, remember back in season 3, the person who worked at the Serena Hotel that wouldn't let Veronica into David's room, that almost got fired. It looks like he still has his job, which is great. So the main thing involving the preview is, 2 things I wanted to bring up. These will be the last things based off the preview. Warlock going over to Candace's house again. The only reason that he goes over to Candace's house in my mind is to kind of, rough her up in terms of, you're running out of time, where's my money? And she's probably going to talk about, hey, we got a meeting set up to get this lawsuit against the Cryers, and if we could set out of court. I could actually see her getting the money in time because, if they avoid doing anything in court, that's going to save them time, as opposed to, we're going to settle out of court, here's the millions, you're good to go. So Warlock is either going to do something like that, or probably rearrange the deal, asking for more money or something, or demanding more money or something like that. And again, as I said in my last episode review, I really hope that he doesn't do anything like the threatening Quincy Jr. or something like that, because if he does, Warlock, I used to love him as a character. Now, just kill him off, because again, he's a little kid. I would like to think Warlock wouldn't go that far, but the fact that he's even threatened Benny if Candace run away, come on now, it's just ridiculous. And the fact that he doesn't wear his stocking cap anymore, I think that's a really interesting way of showing character change in terms of, he used to be this cool guy, but with the hat's off now, so, totally on the prowl. Now, the last thing involving the preview is the scene I'm most looking for. This is the scene I'm more looking forward to this scene than the shooting. Hannah arriving at Candace's house, most likely to confront her about, getting on Leah in terms of beating her up to get Quincy Jr. She pushes Benny aside, walks in the living room, and sees the lawyer, Candace, Benny, and Michael. I'm really interested because everything's going to come out now, because remember, in the phone conversation that she had with Michael last week, he was asking, hey, is Hannah on board with the lawsuit and everything? Candace probably going to lie about it, and then, that's going to lead to a huge mess, because, again, it's funny when you think about it, because I understand why Benny doesn't want to have anything to do with Michael. The last time he saw Michael was when Michael and Hannah were literally about to have sex, so he's not really in a happy mood about him right now. And not to mention the fact that Michael's back on the scene. I'm really excited to see the dynamic in that, in terms of where Hannah was before. She said, hey, we can be good friends. I'm not really starting anything right now. In terms of now her house being burnt down and she lost custody of her son. So Hannah, it isn't so much the lawsuit. She's more on the prowl about what Candace did to Aaliyah and what that means for Quincy Jr. And even in the preview, Candace is yelling, well, do it, Hannah, do it, when she says, I want to kill you. Doubt that's going to happen. I really doubt it, especially when you have Michael and Benny there to, kind of hold Hannah off. I would say that that's probably going to be the climax of the episode. I'm thinking Warlock will come over before Benny and the lawyers. I really think that that's going to happen, because in the last episode, hey, I want to come over and talk to you. And then that's pretty honestly, I think that's pretty much all I have to say in terms of my predictions for the episode, just because even though there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of untouched material that needs to be resolved, there can only be so much that fits into the 45 minute episode. So with that being said, I'm not bringing this video to a close, but at this point in the video, I want to talk about different things that haven't yet come up in season 4, and I'm kind of disappointed about. Maybe it's going to come up in part 2 of season 4. If it does, I'm really excited. Number 1, we never actually got any mention or appearance of Melissa, in terms of the last time we saw her last season was when Veronica pretty much gave her Jeffrey's apartment, announced in the newspaper that they were to get married, and that's pretty much it. There's been no mention of her or no appearance of her at all. Perhaps when, Veronica and Jeffrey encounter each other in the next episode, they're going to mention it, or Veronica mentions it in terms of, hey, I'm out of jail, that's a surprise, so you're going to do exactly what I want you to do, which is marry Melissa, because Quita did say something about Jeffrey driving her car, not knowing where Quincy was, and that might lead to something where, Veronica and that blackmail, and that could be the fuel that pushes Jeffrey to do what Candace wants to do in terms of seducing Justin, the police officer, to get him off the case. Hey, just throwing that out there. Number 2, what about Tony? You haven't seen him. We don't know if he's dead. Is he still looking for that kidney? I don't know how that's going to roll. No mention of him at all. And then we have Veronica's mother, who David called multiple times in season 2. She's not been mentioned or heard of at all. I can't. Man. I just hope that alright, again, I've loved the season so far. Started off a little slow, but it picked up. I just hope that Tyler Perry is writing things to the fact that there's things in that series that's not being thrown away without being unresolved, such as, Benny's mental state from that post-coma, from being, taken off life support. Veronica obviously is either on some kind of drugs, pills, or something, because, again, she's been acting nuts for the past season and a half now. And I'm just here thinking in my mind about all the things that have been mentioned but never, paid off. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good build up, but I'm ready to see some of these characters get their comeuppance in terms of they have to answer for what they've done. It's going to be something that goes down, because with Jim, quote unquote, out of the picture for right now, there's going to be some other big bads, especially the fact that even though Jim is in jail, Candace has her own hands full between getting her son as well as paying off Warlock. So honestly, again, what in the first 12 minutes of this video, I pretty much covered everything I think that's going to happen in the next episode, as well as who's potentially going to get shot. But let me know in the comment section below, are there any particular plot lines or characters that have been either unmentioned or unseen during this entire season that you would like to make an appearance in the second part of season 4? Please subscribe, like the video, share with your friends, because again, Tuesday is coming up, meaning that Haves and Have-Nots going to be going for a couple months. If time permits, because again, I'm going to try to focus on If Love Me Knew Was Wrong, I'm going to try to do more Have and Have Not videos during the hiatus to keep the hype up, do what I can from my end. And let's see, the other thing I wanted to mention about last week's episode, I don't believe I mentioned in the last review I did, was during the scene where Candace is talking to Jeffrey about, was that the first time you had a gun held up to your head? And I was thinking to myself, Amanda did the same thing to Jeffrey back in season 2. That would have been a perfect time for Jeffrey to say something like, well, it wasn't the first time. Again, it could have been, he didn't even have to say Amanda's name. He could have just said something like that. It would have been a cool throwback to all of his fans who, miss Amanda. Because remember that time Jeffrey came over to her apartment and she had the gun pointed at him. But again, it goes back to different characters, plots that haven't been mentioned that often. And really hope they do make some kind of appearance. So with that being said, I want to bring this video to a close. I believe this is going to be the last video I do before the next episode. So I will definitely see you all on Twitter on Tuesday night. And of course, I will be doing a video reviewing my thoughts on the mid-season finale.